there's so many ways that you become a father, okay? And the assumption should not be that you get married and then, you have a child and then you are a father. There's so many ways that people become a father. You could be a young man and you lost your parents and all of a sudden you are the father to your siblings. So when we talk about fatherhood, we're talking about a commitment to children. It's not a biological giving birth to a child. You have to adjust of being a father. So if you move, say, from Africa and you come here with your family, most of us, maybe if you are single, it's a whole different situation.
Right.
But if you have a family and you move and you already had children, everybody's adjusting to that change. The father role you were playing back home based on your economic status, based on the mother's economic status, it becomes completely different. The sun should not rise before you, so the sun should not meet you in bed.
Wow.
Yes.
Hello, viewers. Thank you once again for always subscribing and for always viewing all our episodes. To all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day. And we're having a very special edition of fathers, understanding the power, the importance of having a father in the lives of the child. And I'm so overwhelmed with joy and very, very grateful to have Daddy Asanga in the house. Daddy, thank you so much for taking our time.
You're welcome.
I'm very, very happy to have you. So if someone is just tuning in into the Wisdom Bank podcast, who is Daddy Asanga?
So my name is Julius Akwani Asanga. I am 60 years old and I've lived in the Kansas City community for the last 25 years. Originating from Cameroon, the Northwest region,
Yes.
from Mezam, from Babatu village. I traveled out of Cameroon back in 1986 to study in West Germany, and I have a degree in computer engineering that I've been put into use trying to raise a family. And I'll be able to talk more about myself and about this topic later.
Daddy, I'm so happy to have you. You are an asset, which I myself I treasure so much. So, looking back in your life, what advice did your dad give you that till this day still speaks when you apply that advice?
So one of the things that you're talking about a relationship with my father, but there's several things that come to mind. But one of them that really really stands out each time I want to motivate myself is I remember my dad saying that the sun should not rise before you, so the sun should not meet you in bed.
Wow.
Yes. And I've taken that to heart each time I'm like down and thinking that you could get a rest or something, especially during the work week. So I try to rise early, and the morning hours are so important for me because I get my personal space at the same time. And then if it comes to work, then I also get my personal time at work before most other people get to work. And you'll be amazed how much you get done in that hour because once work begins, other people need your assistance, is collaborating and so on. You might not really get to things that you really want to get accomplished. So the early hours are very important.
Wow. Rise before the sun gets up.
Yeah.
Wow. Very important, very, very important advice. Why is it that the role of the father in the life of a child is so important? But in this our generation, we discovered that there's so much that is lacking. The rules of the land, culture, the social media, and many more. And it's like the father is being sidelined, but the father is very important. Why is it so? And what are those rules that I'll put it this way, it's a must that the father be there in the life of the child.
Very interesting. One of the things that happens in life is that we tend to stereotype, you know, situations. For one, I don't know if it's based on my training as an engineer, is that I believe in concepts.
Wow.
And when you look at concepts, that means that there are certain things that it gives you the latitude to fill in the gaps. So, but when you look at stereotypes, that means you're trying to live according to rules that are set forth. And these rules might really apply very well to one set of people, but not to another. So we live in a very ever-changing world where you talk about whether it's a community, whether it's urban, whether it's royal, but even with the advent of technology, and everything changes. So 10 years from now, it's not going to be the same like what we have today. Like people, you're talking about AI revolution. Before you were talking about cloud computing. And, all of those things, they're things that will come to pass and we build upon them. So my advice is that it's always good in every situation to look at the concept and so that you can fill in the gaps rather than trying to follow particular directives.
As a successful father, family-wise, career-wise, which I really appreciate that. In this dispensation, has the rule of the father changed in the lives of their children?
Yes, it has to change because there is nothing constant and change itself.
Yes, but because of the change, why must it change?
It's not a question of why. It's a force of nature because things change.
Right.
Okay, the seasons come, the seasons pass, change. So it's just a force of nature. Now you can walk against it or you can walk with it. And some people go through life always trying to be against. I don't say that you should not protest, but what I'm saying is that you have to understand that there are certain things that are bound to happen. And how you impact that change, you'll be part of the change or you're going to be against the change. If you're going to be against the change, you're failing. You have to impact the change. That means you yourself have to see yourself as a change agent to make things go, influence it the way you want those outcomes. Don't sit at the sidelines and expect change to affect you the way you want. You have to be a participant.
Wow. You're opening my eyes to see a lot of things that when you look in our times now, and especially for someone who is a reader, there are so many things out there that has been put when it comes to father. Let me put it this way, to fatherhood. There have been so many misconceptions. You first of all outline that there are principles that govern, right? We shall still believe that the principles that work, because principles are there to serve you and they will serve you if you apply them rightly. But now, with the evolution of the internet, social media, AI, there have been so many misconceptions when it comes to fatherhood. Now, you are, I would say, 3 generations, right? Looking back at those different generations, what are some of the misconceptions when it comes to fatherhood that you see in our generation?
So let's take masculinity, for instance.
Yes.
How you define masculinity in the past and how you define masculinity today.
Right.
When I was growing up, for instance, in a boarding school I went to, Cameroon Protestant College, Bali, all of our cooks were male individuals. And it was very normal to us. But then if you came back home and a man was cooking, then it was like, what the heck is going on here? So why was it acceptable that in institutions like, boarding colleges and so on, males could be cooking, but at home they should not be cooking, for instance?
Yes.
So were we saying that a male should not be cooking? No, we're not saying that. was saying that in a family structure, we give the role of cooking solely to the
women.
mother.
Yes.
Now, if a father today is cooking, it's more acceptable. So that's why I said the roles, the shift with time, it becomes acceptable for you to get into a household and the father is making the meal. Not saying that it has to be solely the father. I'm also not saying that it has to be solely the mother. But this conception of role interplay, that you feel free to be who you actually are, that is something that has evolved. In traditional African society, say in Cameroon where I come from, the opportunity might not be there. And if the opportunity is not there, it's because of particular situations around the household. If the man is still the main breadwinner and has to go out of the house and comes back, then it is very unlikely that he will come back and everybody will be waiting for him to come and cook. Now, that's not a given. So that's why in some particular situations, the woman is predominantly, taking that role. But I believe there are a lot of men who would want to participate, but they will not have the opportunity.
Wow. I love the way you bring out the cultural aspect, right? This is different in the West and this is different back home. For example, I had to learn how to change the child's diaper.
Correct. Correct.
So
Yes.
those are some of the packages that comes with fatherhood.
Yes.
I want you to look at it from this perspective and give me your viewpoint.
Okay.
Looking at the father in the West,
Yes.
and looking at the father back in Africa,
Yes.
back in Cameroon from where we come from.
Yes.
What have you seen the differences? And a typical father who is from back home, when he comes here,
Yes.
why do the role of fatherhood change?
Transition is always very difficult. Yes, how you manage change. It's within a community when you move from one environment to another. That's a change.
Right.
You have to adjust. Being a father. So if you move, say, from Africa and you come here with your family, most of us migrate. Maybe if you are single, it's a whole different situation.
Right.
But if you have a family and you move and you already had children, everybody's adjusting to that change. The father role you were playing back home based on your economic status, based on the mother's economic status, it becomes completely different. Now, one of the things that I personally believe is that women tend to adapt more better to changes than men.
Why so?
It's in the rigorous nature of man to be stubborn, and that can have adverse effect. When I say stubborn, it means you are really adamant to change. You are resisting change because things favor you. In Africa, things favor the male,
Right.
yes, than the female. A lot of privileges are accorded to the male. So you are back in Africa, you are enjoying a lot of those privileges. When you come here, you have to learn to give up some of them. And nobody really wants to free willy give up power.
That's very, very interesting because we believe the man's right.
That's correct.
Now, I want you to go deep
Yes.
into that which we always say the man's right.
Yes.
Those men and those father, do they have a right?
They do. They do. They have a right to be respected for their role that they play in the community, in the family. And these structures are structures that have been laid down from generations. And we know that we live in a man's world. And this is nothing that African has invented, okay? This is something that has been universal, that male have dominated the world for long. If you look at all the rulers, even in Europe, and how we passed down, when did we allow females to go to school? It's not an African thing. It's not a European thing. But if you look at our culture and our educational system that we are deriving from the European educational system, they themselves did not allow women to go to school until a particular period. You think about voting rights. When did women start voting, in some of these cultures? It's not an African thing. If you think about dressing, when did women get permitted to do, to dress maybe in the pants rather than a skirt? Men had to bow, women had to curtsy. So these are cultural things that are borrowed, but even within the African culture, we still have our role for the men and the female. But the female role in the African context has always been one that is hidden, that is behind the scenes. The power of the female is always underneath that we don't see. And so we still understood that the female, the mother, carries the family. And even today, it's very true. If a family is eroding, one of the reasons will be that the mother is not carrying the family. The father might be visible out there, but the backbone is still the mother.
Wow. You have mentioned some very, very important things that, remember, we lay in the first episode here because we're gonna build on so many of these things that we are kind of like putting in here in our subsequent episode. But I have a follow-up question for you.
Yeah.
Fathers are meant to be the foundation of the house. But you mentioned that the women do carry the house. Should it not be the father to carry the house? Why should it be women carrying the house?
So I say but let's just step back a little bit because there's so many ways that you become a father. Okay. And the assumption should not be that you get married and then you have a child and then you are a father. There's so many ways that people become a father. You could be a young man and you lost your parents and all of a sudden you are the father to your siblings. So when we talk about fatherhood, we're talking about a commitment to children. It's not a biological giving birth to a child.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just want us to put that out there,
Right.
so that we don't narrow it down to a family structure. If we want to go to a family structure, then there are other dynamics at play,
Which we are missing out.
we're missing out. Yes. But if you're just talking about being a father, you could be a father at the age of 12, age of 14, with no fault of yours. It's just that things just fall on your lap that you have to be responsible.
So are we looking fatherhood from a standpoint of responsibility?
I particularly think that it's a standpoint of responsibility. I'll give you, for me personally, so I am my father's successor. Okay.
Yes.
In the concept of it, particularly in the grassland in Cameroon, we strongly believe in successorship.
That's true.
So I am my father's successor. But interesting wise, I'm also my grandmother's successor. So I'm my father's mother's successor. And in my larger family, I tend to be recognized more with my grandmother's successorship than even with my father's successorship.
Why so?
Because my grandmother carries more population, more weight than my father. My father has a small family, wife, 6 children, and now we have grandchildren and great grandchildren. But my grandmother has a lot more. So when I speak with the family, they tend to look at me more as my grandmother because I have a bigger clan to manage.
We're laying a very interesting ground here where we're from Africa. We're from Cameroon, to be precise, and we are in the West. When you look at parenting in this side, which is different from fatherhood, right?
Yes.
Parenting is also, from my research, I never really understood to this depth.
Yes.
But when I started reading, parenting and fatherhood is different.
Correct.
What's that difference in between these two?
Parenting is something that you can educate yourself. You can learn. Fatherhood, I don't think is something that you learn. It has to be instinctive.
Wow.
So parenting is you can learn about the need to take your child to school. You are even forced by your government,
By the law.
Yeah, by the law, that you cannot keep a school age child at home. You have to take to school. So that's parenting. You can take them to school. You can discipline them. You can do that. But fatherhood is more of an unconditional love for a child, be it biological or not. So you could be a father to anybody, to any child of any age, because you have decided, you have made that commitment of giving that unconditional love to that person, which comes with support. That's fatherhood.
So can we now put it this way? Are fathers the foundation of the family and of the world and of the community?
Yes and no. Because if you think that it's going to be mutually exclusive, then that's not true. Because you could still be a female and be a father, just like you could be a male and be a mother. As I said, I'm a male, but I am a mother because I'm the successor of my grandmother. So I operate as a mother.
So can we say men are dynamic in creation? In creation to play, okay, because I wrote something earlier on today and I said Happy Father's Day to the fathers. And I I I said there are women that are also fathers, which comes now to single parents.
Correct.
I want you to look at it from that perspective. I want to get your viewpoint. How do you see the role of a woman playing as a father in the life of a child?
Yes. So it will be it will be self-evident, for lack of any other word, like choice. Because if you are faced with a situation where you are the sole parent, be you mother or father, you have to play both roles.
Wow.
You don't have any choice. You have to play both roles.
Interesting. I want to take you back scripturally. In the Garden of Eden, God created men first, right? And he said, till, make like make the garden fertile. And he later on brought the wife. As a father, how can you prepare both your male and your female child to face the reality of the world?
So now you're coming into the concept of marriage, because that we're assuming now that you became a father by virtue of getting
Right.
married and having a child, which is ideally that's good. Yeah, yeah. Um, so I say, for instance, the most important decision that a man makes in their life is who they choose as a wife,
Why so?
because that's the foundation of the family you're trying to form, and that's, for instance, might be the only choice that you're actually going to make.
Wow. Why the only choice?
Because once she becomes your wife, then nothing you do, it's a single choice of yours. It's a choice of two people.
Wow.
Whether you accept or not, you become one. And so the two of you are making decisions. It doesn't matter who is dominating, who is not, but you're both in it together.
Interesting. Wow. As we're about to round up here, I have two more questions that I want to ask you. Fathers are unique in nature. What are those unique features or characters or traits that a father possesses?
Unique in the sense that if you are a father to a female child, then of course it's unique because there's a special relationship that you're having with your daughter, that no other man is going to have that relationship. So to the eyes of your daughter, you are very unique. If you are a father to a male child, then it's also a very unique situation, because that male child, that you're having a special relationship of what the male sees a male to be. And the male might also grow, the female, the child can also grow to want to emulate, be like you, but the child can also grow to exactly not want to be like you.
Wow.
And these are crossroads that every child will have to navigate. I have seen situations where a child has lamented what their father was, but then they've grown up to become exactly what their father was or even worse. So you are unique because you are out there just by being, you are affecting others' lives. Just by being, your existence in that space is already affecting others.
interesting. I love the way you really put it. Um, by the virtue of divine creation, right? Fathers were meant to influence. Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
Okay. I want you to go deep into that. How do parents, how do father in particular influence their kids, the male and the female? I know you touched a little bit in the previous question that you were that like you being there is just a being. Your presence do
Yes.
make a huge difference.
Yes.
But I want you to take it a little step further. How do you really influence to shape the life of your child, both male and female?
My answer will really surprise you because I think that most of the time people fail because they try too much.
Really?
Yes. It is really not a science that you have to over educate yourself or how to become a parent or how to become a father.
Wow.
You have to be you because you're leading by example and you are not what would I say? Nobody is perfect.
Right.
So your imperfections are also part of you.
Wow.
And your children are going to see that imperfection. They might try at the youngest age to exploit that imperfection because they know, maybe the father will allow this or will do this and that. Maybe even you not being present, that imperfection, they could exploit it, or you not being present to do mischief. And we all grow up as kids.
Right.
Mischief is part of it. But trying too hard to be a good father, to be a good parent can actually backfire. The reason I say that is if you look within your own community and you believe that, say, you're passing judgment, not in the sense of, biblical judgment, but in just a sense of observation and saying that I think this parent or I think this father is not a good father, I think this father is not, and you're doing that type of comparison, you might be surprised to see that the children of the person you are thinking that's not a good father, they turn out to become better personalities in the future than even the children of the person you thought is a good father. So lessons can be learned in imperfection. You don't have to be perfect to have a perfect or a good outcome. You have to accept imperfection in
Wow.
reality.
Wow. One of my mentors said something very important. He said, in your quest for success, learn from those that have succeeded and also make sure you learn from those that fail.
Yes.
Because there's a lesson that you learn from them. When you combine, you have a very, very outstanding result, which will help shape your tomorrow in a more better way. Because we tend to just look at those that have succeeded. And
Yes.
just like in IT, we don't know the back end, right? We don't really know what is going at the back end.
Yeah.
We just tend to look at the front end, which is what we are actually seeing.
Yes.
That's I have one more question, and which is what value do children often learn when they fix their eyes onto their father? Like the value, like values of life. When you look at, to say, your child step out,
Yes.
they are unique. So let me put it this way. The value your kids possess, should the father be the one to shape those values that their kids can inherit?
Yes. Yes. There are certain things that you have to decide and prioritize that this is the outcome that I want. And in a normal home, you would agree that um, you know you wouldn't want your child to steal.
Right.
We start children by telling them do not lie.
Right.
Everybody tells some kind of lie, but when we talk about lying, that means you are really actually taking it to another level where you're actually denying the truth.
Right.
You're not just trying to twist things a little bit to get a little favor here and there, but you are a liar. So we don't want your child to grow up to be a liar. You don't want your child to grow up to be a thief. In short, you don't want your child to be dishonest.
Right.
So honesty is one of the values that you want to really give to your child so that they can carry it on in life that will help them shape their decisions because they're going to be making their own decisions. So you can only give them that concept of what honesty looks like. That's what you want to give to your children.
So, because the Bible says, "Such as I have, I give unto you." So these things that you give to your kids, those are things that you must possess before you are able to give them. Am I correct on that?
No, I would say, well, it's good if you possess them, but just like you going to a doctor and the doctor is telling you that you're overweight, you need to cut down, but you might look at that same doctor in front of you and they are 10 times more overweight than you are. So
Mm,
they don't necessarily, they might have their own struggle. They know that you need to cut down, maybe you're fighting any kind of disease and they need you to exercise and they ask you the questions. How often do you exercise? It's good to do some vigorous exercise 2-3 times a week. They're giving you that because they know that is the right thing to do. That doesn't mean that they don't have just struggles getting to that point. So you could advise somebody or a child on something that you wish them to be because maybe it's your own shortcoming that you don't want to see repeated on the
oh,
child. You don't necessarily have to possess, but you have to have that understanding of wrong and right. That doesn't mean that that's part of the imperfection I'm talking about. That your shortcomings are part of you and people can learn from your shortcomings and say, okay, I see my dad, I grew up and I saw my dad struggle with so and so. How do I, because becoming an adult means that you are able to reason on your own and make decisions.
right.
So what lessons did I get from even from my dad's struggles to make sure that I don't get to that point?
Very, very important. The final question: what are some of the father's behavior or character that he should possess so as to pass it on to their children?
I would answer the question in reverse and say one of the characters that the father should not possess is being abusive.
Wow. Please go deeper into that response.
Yeah, because in all the good that you can do, if you are abusive, it might just negate everything that you've tried to accomplish.
Wow.
Because those abusive behaviors they stick more than any good that you do.
Wow.
Yes. So you might do 10 good things and they could be crumbled in 1 second with one abusive behavior. So the good is always, always, always difficult to build. But the damage of the bad is it just takes. You could build a city and just one tornado passed through and just devastate. But it took years to build that city. The tornado doesn't take 5 minutes to bring down that city.
Wow. This is very, very important. Daddy, I really want to say a big thank you for taking out time on this precious day. Today is Father's Day.
Thank you.
And for all that you have given out here, I want to say thank you for taking out time. And I want to say Happy Father's Day.
Thank you for inviting me. Happy Father's Day to you and to our audience.
Thank you. Dear viewers, we have come to the end of this episode. We're discussing on the importance of the role of the father in the lives of their child. This is episode 1. We have more that will be coming. In our next episode, we'll be looking about how parents or father in particular affects how they shape the mental health of the family. So please subscribe, follow, like, and keep your comments educative so that other people can learn. This is an educative podcast where we try to bring out the best to build a community that will make an impact and also that we can transcend and give more to the generation next to come. Daddy, thank you.
Thank you.
And God bless you. Our sound and camera was handled by Bra Harris. And until then, see you. Thank you.